And we are live. If you can hear us, please drop in the chat where you're calling in from. Would love to see. All right, everyone, please welcome Callum Kim Wansbro from Waterloo.
Yeah,
Thanks for
hi
hopping on,
everyone.
Callum.
Yeah, it's no problem. Thanks for having me, Dan.
And you're currently East Coast time, right?
Yeah, so it's a 1 p.m. Nice and early wake up for me today.
We got Matthias from Canada, Ann Hobbs from Atlanta, Srikanth from Rhode Island. We got Mississippi. We got Edmonton. What is Edmonton also East Coast? If I remember correctly.
I think it's like more central. I don't know what time.
Pennsylvania. Yeah, Canada is huge, man. There's a lot. That's definitely somewhere on my bucket list I want to go visit.
Hmm. Yeah,
You guys have a
honestly,
lot of national parks there, right?
yeah, it's Ontario's kind of boring. It's mostly just like fields and forests. But I guess if you go up north enough, it's like the Rockies. But like honestly, I think it's on either the east or west coast. It's pretty nice.
Where have you been to a lot of places in Canada?
Not really. I mean, I've been to Quebec. I've been to Newfoundland. That was actually pretty cool. Um, I think it was like for my dad's birthday, we went there and then we just kind of did a road trip around the island.
That's
So
on
that
the
was good.
is that's close to the coast?
Yeah, it's like there's the East Coast, which is like Labrador, and then Newfoundland's its like own island.
And
So it's
that's
like
it's Atlantic time in Newfoundland?
I actually couldn't tell you. I think it is a different time zone, but I'm not too sure.
I see we got someone calling in from India. What's the time in India right now? Out of curiosity. I think it's 10 or 11 p.m. there. So, for those of you who haven't met Callum yet, Callum was part of our team last year. He was a mechanical engineering intern from Waterloo, still at Waterloo, but he interned with us at Tesla last year. You started. I know you ended December. You started in August,
Uh, September, like second week
September.
of September, I
Okay,
think. Yeah.
so you had a couple of weeks in between your end of summer semester and starting with us at Tesla.
Yeah. So, but honestly, just like the whole move down was like kind of time consuming, but yeah, I still got some time to myself, which was nice.
It's 11:30 p.m. in India. Thanks for staying up late to call in. That's great. What do you find, Callum, at Waterloo? What are people's sleep schedules normally?
Um, so I don't know if it's like mine's normal. My sleep schedule is pretty terrible. Um, but it's like next week's my midterm week and it's all my midterms are at 8:30. So it's like I've been trying to fix it, especially with reading week, but like I know me and my friends, we all have it pretty bad. So, but
Do you
it's
sometimes stay up late with a group of friends to study, like late night study sessions?
yeah. So it's like yeah. Uh, I guess it's like I don't really have quizzes this semester, But before, it's like when we used to have quizzes, or it's like we used to have like term design projects. It would more than likely end up with like an all-nighter or something along those lines. But also just answering a question in the chat. Uh, I just finished like so I did my first year, and then I went and I did an internship at Magna, which is like an automotive parts supplier. And then after that, so that was my summer term, and then in the fall, that's when I joined Tesla.
So that was the start of your, you would say, the start of your sophomore year?
Yeah, I think. The way it's like at Waterloo, because it's we don't our program's like a 5-year program, because they make you like after your first year you have to do like co-op school, co-op school, co-op school. And so most people, when they like talk about like what year they're in, instead of saying it's like they go it based off like your school term. So I technically was 1B at the time that I worked at Tesla. So it's like I would say like, oh, I'm first year. But I guess where it's like I was supposed to have started my second year when I did the internship.
And Waterloo is pretty unique where you're actually required to have a certain amount of internships or co-ops before you graduate, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you need 5 4-month terms.
Do you find there's some students that struggle to, if it's a requirement, do you find some students struggle to get those, or is
Um,
everyone getting internships every year?
I don't think there's necessarily been someone, or like I don't think personally I've never seen someone who it's stopped their graduation. Because Waterloo has like a bunch of safety nets where it's like, oh, if you don't get an internship, you can do like an internship at like a design team, or it's like they also have something called like Weave Accelerate, where it's like they make you basically like learn the skills, and then they'll give you credit, like a co-op credit in return for it. And it's like, especially with COVID, I think that's when it's like most of this stuff kind of started up, is because like a lot of places just weren't hiring interns, or and it was just super hard to find work, especially for it's like more hardware stuff like mechanical engineering. um yeah, it kind of threw like a wrench in the whole system. But
I see that McMaster University.
I actually didn't know
I don't know
that.
if I pronounced that right, but they have the same requirements.
Yeah.
So just a side note for everyone listening, this even like I went to Georgia Tech and we definitely did not have that requirement. However, it's so important if when you're studying whatever your degree is to try to get that field work experience. So
Hmm.
I'm surprised that it isn't a requirement for most schools. Because I mean, Callum, you're a good example here. You're really still only in your second. You're entering your sophomore year, but you already have how many internships under your belt?
2. So it's like,
Tesla, and then you said Magna.
yeah, Magna International.
So
um
honestly, if I were to go back to university, so I was actually entering my senior year, and I realized I was like, oh, I don't have any internships yet.
mhm.
So if I were to go back to university, I would have literally like you Callum, I would have in my freshman year just started applying and I think that's almost internships are almost I would say equally important, if not more important than your actual school. What would you say about that, Callum?
Yeah, I'd say it's like, especially I guess like in California, it's like a very big thing where it's like you just there's so many Waterloo students there, and it's just because of it's like our co-op culture. And hey Con. um yeah, because of it's like our co-op culture, it just kind of like pushes people down there. And so it's like it's definitely, I'd say the Waterloo name isn't that impressive, but like the fact that it's you're surrounded by people, and it's like all the kind of this is kind of like a double-edged sword. All they talk about is like internships, and it's like job hunting. It like it really like motivates you to kind of go down that path, and then you end up with like these people that get these like super prestigious jobs.
A question for those listening. do you find your schools have a good pathway or pipeline to get internships? Like for example, at Georgia Tech, we had we had career fairs every semester, and it was actually pretty big. Like we had probably 100 companies from all over, not only the U.S. but also the globe, come to. They would book out the whole basketball stadium, and there would be companies just there, like representative managers, engineers, and it was definitely not a requirement to go to these. In fact, I wish I started going to them right away because I only started going in close to my senior year of college, and I found I found at Georgia Tech going to those career fairs and meeting people face to face gave me a much better chance to land an internship. In fact, that's actually how I did land my first internship was at a career fair. So would love those on those listening in. I don't know if at your schools you have that opportunity. Do you have those, Callum? The in-person career fairs at Waterloo?
Yeah, ours definitely aren't on like the same scale.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely have like more, I guess, like local companies, and then also I guess like, it's mostly just like Canadian companies that kind of come to ours. We have when it's like big companies do come because I guess it's just kind of like a pain for them, like these bigger California companies to send recruiters up
Mm-hmm.
all the way to Waterloo. When they do come, it's like a very big deal, and so it's like there's been times where it's like there's like whole days for like Tesla events, and then I know last semester there was like an Apple event too, and so it's like I think Waterloo, it's like that's one of like the strongest parts of our school is just kind of like the network we have with these big companies, and how it's like they understand kind of like what our students know and what they're capable of.
Mm-hmm. So it's less of a once-off career fair with all these companies, but it's more of, hey, this weekend or this Monday, Tesla's coming to set up a booth.
Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha. How do you find most students at Waterloo attend those events?
Um, Honestly, I wouldn't know. Um, I guess like first year, it's like all the career fairs. It's like I would only really find out like afterwards, and then so then it's like I kind of miss out on like the opportunity to like network through those, and then just like I've been out of school for the past 8 months, so but I know it's like I have like met people who have gone to those and then got jobs just because they just talked to a recruiter.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say it's like not sure if it's like how many people go, but it's like if you do go, it definitely is worth your time.
And that's a point. So I've attended a couple university like career fairs, mostly UNR, and then I attended one college in California. But I was able to we were able to onboard one of our engineers through that, and I wouldn't say his resume or portfolio they were good, but they weren't they wouldn't have it wouldn't have stood out among 100 if I just like looked at it in my email. So
Hmm.
as a hiring manager, if if the first impression is good at an in-person meeting, that I would say that trumps having the best resume or the best portfolio. If you can like just connect with me in person, uh, look me in the eye, shake my hand, share what you're excited about, what you do, that that goes a lot further than I think people realize. So I think just exposing yourself, meeting as many people at these, like you said at Waterloo, if they come set up a booth or going to a career fair, um, and there's probably even other ways. Do you find students sometimes, like let's say someone really wants to get into Apple or Tesla, do you find Callum students will go out of their way to go visit and try to meet with someone on the site? Does that ever happen?
Um, Not necessarily on the site, but it's
Oh.
pretty common for people to like personally like reach out on like LinkedIn. And it's like it's I know a bunch of people that have gotten interviews and jobs that way because it's just like if you're applying through like a portal, it's just like you're just like a name. But then if you actually have like a meaningful, like to your point, a meaningful conversation with the person who A, you're gonna be working under, and B is gonna like make the decision on whether or not they want to hire you, it definitely goes a long way because like
Mm-hmm.
if I were to be a manager, it's like I wouldn't want to hire someone who it's like like sure they might have the technical skills, but it's like I'm not really sure if it's like I'm gonna enjoy working with them at all.
That's a huge point you bring up, Callum. I mean, at work you spend 40 plus hours with the people that you've hired or that are on your team.
Hmm.
And it's kind of similar to school. Like what if in your one of your projects that you were doing, what if you had one super smart guy that was just that just knew everything technically, but he was just super difficult to work with and didn't treat you well like that. At least for me, that would be very. I would much prefer someone that was closer to that average intelligence, but was a joy to work with.
Yeah. Yeah, I fully agree with that.
Yeah, university. I see Joy at Alberta. We have career fairs. That's great. Yeah, just attend as many as you can.
Hmm.
Imperial in London, they have them, but they're not as big. Yeah, I find a lot of universities, they're not quite as big. Um, and honestly, I find a lot of universities, they don't really share the fact that they're doing them. You have to kind of hunt for them. So
Yeah.
wherever you're going to school, like try to figure out to like talk to your advisor, talk to other students, say what's the best way for me to connect with hiring managers or other engineers from companies to get an internship.
Hmm.
We got a swimming question here. 1,000 meter freestyle. To be honest, I was not a distance swimmer. I don't even remember what my time was for that. My main events were the 200-meter IM and the 100-meter breaststroke. And if I remember correctly, my 200-meter IM was roughly a 2:15, and then my 100-meter breast was 1:07. But dude, the 1,000-meter free, bro, I would always die because I would go out pretty hard, and I would just struggle the last 500 meters. So I don't know if there's anyone that's a long distance swimmer in here. I guess Amir, you're a long distance swimmer. Is that why you asked that? Do you play any sports, Callum, at Waterloo?
No, not here. To be honest, it's like I go to the gym, but like there's I don't know. I haven't joined any teams. It's like I remember there was the idea of doing water polo, like intramural water polo with me and my friends, but I think like nothing ended up coming of that. So
What's the gym like at Waterloo?
um, it's not terrible. Like if you're gonna, the only issue is it's like it's on like the exact opposite side of campus of like for me, and then
Mm-hmm.
it's like with the winter it's kind of a terrible walk. But there's also a gym in my building which isn't like great, but it's like if it's cold out and it's like I just want to get something in quick, then it's like it'll make do.
I think this topic of like clubs and fitness groups at college brings up an interesting point. So one of my co-ops I got at in school. It was with a company called ZF, and they do like automotive, like manufacturing parts or automotive. They're like automotive suppliers, so steering components, transmissions. And I met a guy at a club. It was like a yoga club or something that I was part of, and he was doing a co-op with this team in Georgia at ZF. And he told me, "Hey, my co-op's ending, and my boss Aaron is looking for someone to fill up my that extra headcount for the co-op student." So he's like, "Hey, Dan, like, do you? I know you don't. I know you're looking for internships. Is this something you'd wanna like reach out to Aaron and see if you would want to do this?" Because he was looking just for entry level college students just to give them some experience. So that wasn't through a career fair. That was just through a connection I made at school. So joining clubs that you're interested in, going with friends to the gym, or joining an art class, whatever it may be, like you'll if you connect with enough people and you share with them like your passions in life and what you're shooting for, that that can definitely increase your chances too. Callum, it looks like we got a question for you.
Yeah, so to get into Tesla, like I really did just kind of apply through their portal. It's like I didn't, but it's like I had like a very, I guess, kind of like obsessive uh like way to get in, and that was or like during my or second semester when I was recruiting for the summer term, I wasn't really expecting to get like a company on like Tesla's size. And it's like at Waterloo, it's kind of the expectation that you get it maybe around like your third or fourth co-op. And so it's like obviously I was still just like applying because I thought it'd be cool. And I eventually got like an interview for an optimist role. And so from that, it's like I kind of realized that it's like it's possible for me to get lucky and get these like interviews at these big companies. And so from that, it's like I realized all that it really takes now is for a recruiter to notice me. And so what I ended up doing is it's like for the summer term, there was like through like the end of April to like about mid-May, I hadn't started work yet. And so all I was kind of doing was I was on LinkedIn like all day, like every 3 hours, I would just kind of like reload and see like what new job postings Tesla had posted. And then I would just apply because like my thought process was like, no matter how good like your resume and like portfolio may be, if you're not within like that first like maybe 100 that the recruiter is actually going to go through, there's really like no I guess, world where you can get in because you'll just never be seen. And so that was kind of like what I did to like maximize my chances. And then on top of that, it's like there's the whole idea that it's like people who get lucky aren't necessarily like luckier than other people. They just put themselves in like positions where they have the ability to get lucky more often. And so like I think during that like 1 month period, I put in like 200 applications, and it's like I made sure that every time I was applying, I was like within the first 50 people to like maximize the chances that my resume would get seen by the recruiters. And eventually, it's like it did pay off, but for a while, it kind of seemed like nothing was coming of it. So it's like, but like yeah, that was kind of like my approach was just like maximize my chances by just applying as much as possible.
Yeah, that Callum brings up a great point. So in the end of the day, it really is like you can have the best resume, you can have the best interview skills, but if you're not applying, like let's say you only apply to two or even just 10 internships in a year, you're still stacking up, you're interviewing against potentially hundreds of other candidates. So statistically, your chances of getting an internship are lower versus someone like Callum, like you said you applied to what, 200.
Yeah.
And what was the span of time? Was it like 200 in 3 months or?
It was like about like a month, and
Yeah,
it's like
that's insane.
yeah, it was basically every single posting. It was like right when they started their, I guess, right when they started recruiting. It's like I was just permanently on it. But mhm.
And that I remember back when I was in college when I landed my Tesla internship, it was the same thing. Sorry, Callum, or yeah, Callum definitely took the crown. I didn't apply to 200 in a month. If I did, I might have gotten some more offers, but I did. I think I applied to about 60 in the matter of a couple months. And then that's when I landed an interview with Tesla. So it really is a game of numbers and practice. And I want to share a story with that. So this is something this is a story that I heard last year. So there was a professor who wanted to do a test with his students just to sort of prove the theory of like repetitive practice versus perfecting something once. So he told half of his students, this was like a photography class, and he said, "Hey, for group A, I want you guys to do research. I want you guys to study, and I want you to take one picture, and you're gonna turn that in at the end of the term, and this one picture has to be amazing. It has to be better than any other picture you've taken. Uh, st- Spend hours and hours and hours researching on YouTube, reading books on about how to take the best photo. And then for the second group of students, he said, "Hey, I don't. You guys do a little bit of research, but I want you guys just to take 10 photos every single day for the entire semester. It was like 10 a day or 10 a week or something. Just keep taking photos, and then I want you guys to submit your best photo of the hundreds or thousands of photos that you took." And overwhelmingly, at the end of the term, who do you guys think had the better photo? The ones that spent hours and hours researching. They would, even just to get that one shot, they spent hours to perfect it. Or do you guys think the students that were taking 10 photos a day, many photos a week, and then submitting their best photo, which of the two groups do you think had the better photo on average? And like overwhelmingly, group B, the group that took more photos, just hundreds of photos throughout the term, their photos way outshined the group A that just spent so much time on that one photo. So Callum, like, to your point, it's practice applying, practice interviewing, and just like 200 in a month. Like, that's what you got to do. That's what Callum did to land this internship.
Mhm.
Are you still applying at that rate, Callum, currently?
No, I'm actually I was thinking about like maybe uh looking for like a summer internship, but it's like summer recruiting is just like, in my opinion, it's pretty miserable because it's like, especially it's like I have to deal with like kind of like fighting with like all the other schools like over like the same positions. Whereas it's like if I do like a fall internship, it's a lot less like most schools typically they want you in school during a fall term. So it's like I'm just gonna do like a school term during the summer to catch up with my friends and then like maybe during the fall I'll bring that strategy back. We'll see. But yeah. And then I'm just gonna like just go through some of the questions in the chat. So it's like, yeah, so for Tesla, it's like I did need a sponsor. Like I'm Canadian. They initially did try to get me on a TN visa, but apparently there were like issues with it. Someone mentioned that it was because I was too young. That it's like it got denied. So then they eventually just switched me to a J1, which it was actually kind of stressful because the time frame for a J1, they did it when it's like I was supposed to like leave in like a month. So it's like I didn't know if they'd have enough time to like sort all that stuff out, but they were able to handle it for me. Um, so and then the success rate of the 200 applications was I got one interview from it, and then I was able to turn it into an internship, which I feel like I got extremely lucky with that. But it's like, yeah, but it's like I do believe that it's like getting the interview is typically the hardest part, especially if you don't have like the connections. And then the last one that I want to talk about is just kind of like what mindset should I have going into a ramp up environment? Or sorry, yeah. So for the like I can't really say exactly like I guess like a pilot line's a little bit different. Um and it's I guess you just have to kind of understand that it's like your work is important and you need it to get done, just so then you don't become like a gating issue. Which is like firsthand, that's like stressful. But one thing that I can say that's like a bit more general, just where it's like, or at least it really like affected me when I started working at Tesla, was it's like don't let like things like imposter syndrome like really get to you. I think that's something that's like I really let like kind of like hold me down during like the first couple months of my internship. I think Chris mentioned that it's like he noticed it where it's like it was like eventually something switched and I just seemed like a lot more confident. But it's just like just kind of understanding that's like you're there for a reason and it's like you're smart, you're able to like stay on the same page as these people and like just like kind of don't doubt yourself as you're working through the internship. Um, and then yeah, so it's like there was actually another. So just now going up down to the if I didn't make it through the interview, there's so I've only interviewed for Tesla twice, and it's like I've had like a very different experience both times. So the first time was for like Optimus, and it's like I can't really talk too much about like what like the specifics of it because it's like they made me sign like an NDA before, but it was 2 rounds of like extremely technical questions, and so for that one, it's like I can kind of say like the reason why I wasn't selected is that like I just didn't have enough like technical knowledge to be a good fit for the role. Like I know the person that they ended up selecting, he was like same program, 2 years older than me. Like I can't really be mad about that. But like but it's like for like something where it's like when I was interviewing like I didn't interview with Dan actually for this position. I interviewed with like someone from an adjacent team named Adam. And so it's like if I were to say like have gotten rejected from this role, I think what it really would have been is just kind of like how well could I fit into the team and kind of that whole thing about like being someone that they would want to work with. So like again, it's like the person hiring you is for most of the time is going to be directly working with you. So it's like if they end up like not liking your personality, it's typically going to like cost you the job. But it's like I really can't speak too much on it's like why people don't make it through like the interviews because it really varies from manager to manager, from team to team, and it's like sometimes it is like you just got unlucky.
And going on your internship at Tesla, for maybe for people that are going to be interning at Tesla this summer, what you talked about imposter syndrome, which is I think fantastic. I had that same I had that same feeling when I started at Tesla as well as an intern. I was just always comparing myself to other people. I was nervous about what people thought of me, but in reality we're all here, we're all learning, we're all figuring it out. Even this week I was learning things that I didn't know about. So um, I want to pass this over to you, Callum, but just a point I wanted to bring up was wherever you're working or interning, if you can just genuinely your if your goal is genuinely to learn and to find any way to help, even if it's in really small ways, that goes so much farther than you would think. And I see a lot of uh, new hire engineers, interns, they almost try to prove themselves. You can almost tell they're there to technically prove themselves. And sometimes that can cloud. And Callum, I don't feel you really struggle with this at all. Um, but sometimes instead of just focusing on helping the team, they'll just try to prove themselves by the way they speak or what they do. But if your goal is just to help the team and just to learn, then that can take you um, that can take you very very far. So on top of what you mentioned with imposter syndrome, Callum, do you have any other tips for maybe incoming Tesla interns for the summer?
Um, I guess like hmm, I guess just try to enjoy it as much as possible. I think one of the things that made it like such like a good internship for me, especially like something about like working at in Nevada, is that they have like intern housing for all the interns. So it's like you really get to like you're living with these people. It's like you really get to like know them and like develop bonds with them. So it's like yes, you're there for work, but it's also like try to have like a good time with it. Like you don't have to be like it by the end of the internship, it's like I went like skiing with like Ron, G, and Nikhil, like two of the team members. It's like just try to like you're all humans, you're all like people, and it's like especially if it's like I guess especially with like Ron, G, and Nikhil, where it's like they were also like relatively new. It's like it's like good to build friendships with people who are in like kind of similar situations with you as you.
If you could go back and redo your internship, is there anything you would have done different?
Um, I guess with like hindsight, kind of understanding that it's like, oh, like I shouldn't have had so much imposter syndrome, but I feel like that's kind of just like it's natural to have that, especially once you start out. But Yeah, I think that's just kind of like the biggest thing that like that's one thing that I would have liked to have changed, but it's like I also think it's there's not really too much that's like I can change about that. And I think that's going to kind of be like a very consistent thing moving forward. It's like even in my future internships, where it's like I'll probably still have that feeling at least like a little bit.
Looks like we got a question here for you.
Yeah. So for preparing for technical interviews, so there's like I guess there's two types that I've kind of seen. The first one is like they'll ask you the like super technical details about like your projects. Like I remember, or sorry, I actually don't know if I can go into detail about it, but so it's like having like a very good like baseline of it's like what you did on your projects and why you made certain like design decisions. So it's like like what trade-offs you had to make, kind of understanding like this was done because of this. And so I feel like having that kind of understanding of your resume and your portfolio is needed. But then like another thing for like the actual technical interviews, when they're asking like more like theory questions, I guess like there are resources like there's a website called Hardware FYI, which I think is like super good for prepping for like a lot more of the theory stuff. But it's still like it isn't entirely comprehensive. And honestly, it's like it's kind of like luck of the draw based off what questions they ask because you can't really be expected to know everything. But one thing that I think is important though is depending on like what team you're interviewing for, is understanding what they do because their technical questions are almost always going to be related to that. So if you kind of study things that are going to like directly be related to your work, that's typically, in my opinion, good enough. At least from what I've seen for internships. I haven't done like a terrible amount of technicals.
What have you found have been the most helpful classes that have applied to your internships, Callum?
Um, Honestly, like my first year design courses, because those were like kind of teaching me how to like use CAD and how to do like general design. Um, I guess it's like the role that it's like I had working with you, it was like a little bit different compared to like what I would typically do in my coursework because it was like a lot of like the PLC stuff, which it's like maybe it's like I learned in my upper years, but for now it's like I hadn't touched any of it. And so I guess, like, just kinda, like, the very fundamental stuff is obviously gonna be the most important, and then it's, like, there's stuff that you don't know how to do, like, you're gonna be taught on the job. Like, Tesla has, like, a bunch of training stuff when it comes to, like, a whole, like basically just every topic that it's, like, I could kinda think of. It's, like, if I need help with something, I would either just ask someone or it's, like, I could just pull something up on, like, Inside Tesla.
What are your thought like how important, Callum, do you think it is to interact with different teams while you're working at your internship?
Um, yeah, I think it's definitely very important because you also have to kind of understand like what you're doing and how it affects like other people. Like, and it's like it also is like, I guess in like my case, like the quality team gave me some like cool projects that I could work on, and so it's like I feel like that really helped me kind of make the most out of my internship. So it's like your team's not always going to have like an active thing for like the intern to do, but it's like there might be another team which doesn't have an intern and can like you can kind of talk to them and ask them if they need help with anything.
And I've seen, to your point, Callum, I've seen a lot of interns, let's say they intern for the production engineering team, and then they end up building connections with cross functional teams, whether it's quality or design or manufacturing, whatever the team is, and then they'll come back to the same company, but then they've already built a relationship with that team, so they'll actually intern for a different team.
Oh yeah.
In, in fact, I just had an engineer. He was working with a product design team. He was on our production team, and he actually just transferred to that team, which that's something I personally love about Tesla is there's literally a team for every field, whether it's software, um, UI, uh, production engineering, manufacturing, product design, like you name it, there's a team for it. So if you genuinely take the time to build relationships with these different teams and genuinely find ways to help them, that can really take you far. And then if your interest lies with a different topic, then you can get that opportunity.
Hmm. Yeah, 100% agree.
See, I had another question for you, Callum. So yeah, this is something that I noticed while at school. Most people are so focused on the classes that they take, which is really important. But from like a hiring manager's point of view, seeing students with extracurricular activities, maybe certain clubs or working on personal projects, really can help a candidate stand out because everyone takes the same classes, right? So it's
Hmm.
kind of harder to stand out there. What do you have any advice on? Because I'll often hear students ask, "Hey, what should I do? What personal project should I work on at college? On top of what I'm doing at school, like what would you recommend there?"
Yeah, so like there's kind of two things I want to talk about here. So first for like personal projects, um the way that I kind of see them is it's like it A should be something that's like you're passionate about and will actually like see through all the way to the end. And it should also be something where it's like if you have like a gap in your knowledge, the personal project basically acts as like a way to for you to like self-learn that and also like demonstrate your learning. So like um I realize it's like I kind of need like more experience with like FEA and kind of like optimizing designs. And also like with like CFD and just kind of becoming more familiar with ANSYS. And so my recent personal project I did with my roommate, it was basically we took the electrical components of like one of those like micro drones and we just remade the shell to be like optimized for to like minimize the weight while like maintaining the same strength. And so that was like it was cool because it was like something that's like we were passionate about. It'd be cool to like make like new blades for a drone and like a new shell for a drone. But it was also something where it's like I kind of had this gap in my knowledge and I was able to like basically fill that through my own personal learning. And then like another thing that's like I think is also really important is like joining design teams, especially it's like when you're in like your lower years. Just because it's like there's two kind of things for it. A is that it's like it'll give you like a lot of experience in like very like niche fields, which is like coursework won't teach you about. So it's like Formula Electric is like a good example. It's like I have like a design team in Waterloo called like Autonomous, which is about like honestly they do a lot, but it's like the part that I'm interested in for them is like they're doing like humanoid robots. And so joining them it's like you get to kind of like learn about like this kind of specific niche and then like build a project. The project typically will also be paid for by the school, so it's like a lot of people it's like they'll have like financial issues with like for it's like I know it's like one of my friends he's building like a robotic dog and he's already put like $7,000 into it, which is like and so it's like if you don't have like that money to spare it's like the design teams can basically just work to help fund it. And then another thing for design teams is that it's actually like great for networking. Like going back to this, um, like if you're like when you're on a design team, you're obviously gonna become like close with the people that you work with a lot. And so it's like if they get into a good company, it's like they can easily put in a good word for you. But then on top of that, it's like I've heard stories about like I know one of the full timers that actually works at Tesla that I was talking to back when I was doing like my Optimus interviews, and he was kind of like helping me like know what to expect for them. He was he told me that the way that he got into Tesla was one of the people on his design teams interned for a team, and then the manager from that team liked him so much where he was like, "We're just gonna recruit out of that one specific design team for future terms." And so it's like if like that's not necessarily like common, but if that does happen, it can be like, like an easy way in for basically anyone.
can I pull up your portfolio and showcase some of your projects, Callum?
Yeah, sure.
Was there a specific one that you would like me to pull up?
Um, I mean, I guess like you can pull up like the drone one. I think that's like the most recent and probably the one that I can talk about like the best. But
All right, so
um,
portfolio,
yeah, and then so then the
the
drone, I
the
think.
drone, FEA optimized drone.
Yeah. So yeah, just kind of like as I was talking about, I also think like having a portfolio is like a pretty big thing when it comes to like applications because
Mm-hmm.
like even if it's like I'm not sure if recruiters actually look at your portfolio, but I know that like the hiring managers will. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like you can only really include so much information on your resume when it comes to like technical skills. And so it's like even it's like just thinking about my resume, it's like I have like three experiences and then two projects, which it's like it doesn't really encompass everything that I've done. And so having like a portfolio that they can kind of skim through and just kind of get like the gist of what else you've worked on, I think is like pretty important. Especially if it's like there's two people who did like equally well on like the interviews, but one of them has like a portfolio where they highlight like maybe like a passion for these like this specific field or like a more thorough technical knowledge, then I think it's definitely helps a lot.
And I've had this question a couple times, Callum. Often in college, it's hard to figure out what you're passionate about. So, do you have any advice there on how do you learn and figure out what you're actually passionate about?
Um, I think that's another thing design teams are good for is it kind of like lets you especially like the more like industry backed ones, it'll kind of like give you insight as to it's like, hey, do I actually like doing this or not?
Mm-hmm.
But like realistically, it's just something that you kind of have to figure out as you like do internships, which is like another reason why I think Waterloo is so great is that because you're doing these internships, it's like you get like a very like you get knowledge that's like you won't really be able to have unless you were to, I guess, work directly in the field. And so like honestly, it's like if you're not sure what you're like into, it's like try to take internships in like a bunch of different fields and see which ones you kind of like the best.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like just going back to my background, like it's like my first internship was like just all manufacturing, and it's like I didn't really like that too much. The second one at Tesla was, you know, I was doing design, but then or design for like I guess design for manufacturing. And that one, it's like I actually did like it significantly more than I liked my first one. But it's like I still think the parts of it that I like the most were like the more mechanical design focused ones. And so it's like that's kind of like where it's like I want to go with my next internship is like a more mechanical design role.
Something that my dad taught me growing up is you'll often find your passion through getting good at some skill. So, for example, swimming for me, I used to I liked it growing up, but then when I really started putting in effort and getting growing that skill, that's when I started to really develop a passion for it.
Hmm.
And then same with engineering too. At first, I wasn't sure if I was gonna love it, but as I've learned more and developed that skill, my love for it has grown. And to your point, I've found niches in engineering where, ooh, I really love this aspect more than the others. So then I'll focus more on that. And then as I get better at it, then my passion even grows more. So I love that point. Sometimes you just take the internships, do the projects, and then through that you'll figure out what you love.
Hmm.
I think that's really good.
Yeah.
Looks like Sean's resonating. Glad to hear it, Sean.
Yeah. He was one of my roommates back when I was interning at Tesla.
Hey, nice.
If it's the
What
same one. But
what team did you did you intern with, Sean, at Tesla?
It might have been a different Sean, but
Yeah, I think some of the points I wanted to. I'm just looking at the list of points I wanted to bring up, Callum. Yeah, going to job fairs in person, connecting with people, and like the Facebook example, and then you said with Waterloo, like Apple, Tesla will come visit. So figuring out those events happening at your school, working on extracurricular projects, like like you said, design teams, Baja, design like clubs at your school. It doesn't even have to be directly related to your field, but through that you can develop passions for certain things. We talked about connecting with different teams at your internship. Oh, LFP, nice. That's awesome. I'm sure that was a great experience. Another point I wanted to bring up was when you're at your internship, always being always being eager and willing to help.
mm,
Of course, within reason. If the project is not going to have any positive impact to any team or whatsoever, it's just going to waste money, then maybe reconsider. But typically, when there's needs from other teams, there's always going to be a positive impact. So I think something you were really good at, Callum, was you were very willing to help with different projects with different teams. So I know the quality team was really appreciative of your work, and you did some controls projects, you did some design projects. So you were helping them in multiple different facets when you were there. So I think that's
mm.
just from a hiring manager's point of view. If you have an employee that's not just doing the work that they're told to do, but they're expanding and they're saying, "Hey, let me help with this. Oh, I see this impacts your team. Let me help with this." That's something that we notice.
Yeah, and it's also just I think it's also just good like building those connections because
Mm-hmm.
like again to your point, like if I realize like yeah I want to try getting into quality, it's like having people that's like I've worked with there before could really make the difference on whether or not I get the interview or not.
Mm-hmm. And then looking forward, Callum, what are your future ambitions? You have a good 2 to 3 years left in Waterloo. So what's next for you? What do you want to start pursuing?
Um, honestly, I think humanoids are like a very promising like industry. I think it's especially cool, just kind of like the stuff that they're working with, especially like for hands. I think like the mechanical design of humanoid hands is like a it's something that I'd quite like to work on. Like it's like I know Optimus, I think they definitely or to my knowledge have like the most impressive hand design. And then it's like, but there's still even like a bunch of like other companies which are trying to compete with them. And so it's like maybe joining one of their teams for mech design, I think would be an interesting endeavor. But like honestly, for now, it's just kind of like see where it takes me. But you know, yeah, it's like I still have plenty of time left. I still have like 4 internship terms, so
And do you have any travel plans while in college? I know you had mentioned you wanted to go to Japan sometime soon.
yeah. Honestly, not right now. I think traveling for work, like it's not like I have like people who like I know people who go to like Europe for their internships, and it's like I know we also have like an exchange program, and so it's like maybe during like my 3B term, it's like I might be interested in like trying that out. But yeah, honestly, nothing too like concrete right now, especially um, everything's just kind of like very up in the air based off of like where like the internship terms that I work and then kind of how exams go.
And do you what do you find is do you find your academic advisors often help you guys make these connections with recruiting, like recruiters that come to your school and career fairs?
No, honestly, like the way to keep up is there's like I think our engineering society, they handle most of like the career fair stuff
Mm-hmm.
and just like kind of like marketing it. So it's like if you just for us at least it's like as long as you kind of like stay in tune with that. But honestly it's like my academic advisors haven't helped me out like a lot. Like they've but again it's like I also haven't reached out to them too much, but I think they're pretty hands off unless you need something pretty bad.
Mm-hmm. Well, awesome. In summary, just some of the main points that stood out to me, Callum, were, and I wrote them on the whiteboard behind here as well, is just connect in person with as many people as you can, like at your internship, at school, through clubs, through career fairs, whatever that may be. And Callum, your 200 applications in a month, just keep applying. And like it's okay if you rejections are actually good. It means that means you're trying and applying. So getting a rejection is better than not applying at all. So just don't worry about those rejections. Keep applying. Keep applying. Statistics will be in your favor in that case. And then work on personal projects in college. Find clubs. Meet people. Work hard on your skills. As you build those, you'll find things that you really love, and you grow that passion for those things. And um, and in your internships as well, just build those connections. Be willing to help with whatever projects come your way, whether even if it's from different teams, if your manager lets you. Um, but yeah, I think we're gonna end it here. Callum, thank you so much for your time, and everyone, please feel free to send Callum and I a message on LinkedIn if you have any additional questions. We'd be happy to answer them. And there'll be another live stream next week, and the topic will be on how like taking care of your health while you're a working professional or a student. So look forward to seeing you guys there, and have a great Saturday. Any last words, Callum, for the crew?
Um, yeah, I guess I'll just answer this one last question.
Sure.
Yeah, I actually just applied with like the same CV each time. It's because like my whole thing was just like I wanted to get in like as early as possible to make sure that the recruiter saw me. Just like I just had like one generic one that I would just spam. But I also did like another thing that was like really beneficial for me is that it's like I already knew that it worked because I was able to get that one interview for Optimus. So it was like it I guess because of that, it's like I knew that it's like I didn't have to like really change anything and I could just spam it and eventually I would get lucky. But yeah. But yeah, I think that's
Good
all from
stuff.
me. And thanks for having me, Dan. It was good reconnecting with you.
Anytime.
It's
We'll stay
hmm
connected, man.
yeah.
All right. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Hmm